Welcome back, everybody. We are on part 2 of episode 168. It's time to talk about the hot tags of the week. And we got a couple things to talk about. One major one that we're going to get to after we get done the other ones is the Stone Cold Steve Austin interview with Triple H. But before we do that one, we need to throw a couple other ones out of the way real quick. Really fast, let's throw this out there. Drew McIntyre is going to be in TNA. What do you think?
Good for him, I guess. It's better than, I don't know, some
This
stuff.
is a great acquisition for TNA Pro Wrestling, so Impact Wrestling or whatever wrestling they are now, but it's not going to do anything for them. I'm glad that they're looking for new talent, and they got a great acquisition in Drew McIntyre. I think he's one of the best talents WWE's ever let go. I just hope that it doesn't hurt Drew McIntyre, because I don't know how I look at TNA anymore other than a death sentence. I know he's champion in Insane Championship Wrestling. I know he's in. I know he's in Evolve, so he's got better places to be.
But Sean's happy now.
Sean has been checking out more TNA stuff lately. I don't know why.
He's also checking out less WWE, so he's taking a weird turn.
Don't go to the dark side, Sean. Let's see here. Kalisto might be repackaged as a gay hairstylist? What?
That's awesome. I hope they do it.
Look, I don't care if they do a gay hairstylist character in some way. I mean, I think that's kind of like 1998 a little bit. But first off, like, why, if they're a hairstylist, do they have to be gay? But secondly,
it's a gay hairstylist wrestling.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You know, I'm a homosexual and I'm gay, and I'm a hairstylist and I wrestle, and it's like, you know what? Well, that's kind of the same ludicrous idea of like, I'm a trash man and I wrestle, and like, I think that's stupid. But even worse, why ruin Kalisto? Like, why can't he just be Kalisto?
He's better than Sin Cara in wrestling, and he's better at Sin Cara character-wise because he's not tainted by all the bullshit.
Like, you don't need to give him any gimmick. He could just go out there as Kalisto, and he's been getting over with the NXT crowd. I mean, he's a fucking, well, now former NXT Tag Team Champion. That didn't seem like he was like in danger of losing that crowd. Why did he need to be repackaged to begin with?
How did they pitch that to him? It was like, hey, Kalisto, got a new gimmick change for you. You're going to be losing the mask. All right, what's my gimmick? Fag.
You know, fag drag. That's going to be your finisher, the fag drag.
Oh, it's like an arm drag.
But no.
That's terrible.
Yeah. You came up with that part. Fuck you.
Did I?
But to be fair about Kalisto, I hate the lucha chant that he does. I think it's stupid.
I think it's fucking stupid too. But
see, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. But what I do hate about it is that Sin Cara is not into it. Like, you can see Kalisto really, doing that lucha, and Sin Cara's like, yeah, loses, yeah, all right.
He's like, what? I wish I could do my own.
I just don't like Sin Cara because the character's tainted. They need to get rid of it and give Kalisto a big singles babyface run. And I'm not talking on NXT. He needs to be moved up the card and given an IC title or something.
I think that's a little too fast.
Fuck it. Or put him in a tag team. Oh boy, not put the tag team in the main fucking roster that they already have.
Yeah, see, I think that Kalisto and Sin Cara, just the way that they are, can go up to the main roster and just be, another steady hand in the tag team division. If Kalisto starts making a name for himself, split him up. But you don't give him a gimmick like this.
I almost feel like Sin Cara detracts from him, though. That's just my opinion.
Well, do they have any other people that could be masked along with him? I can't think of anybody other than, if you just threw a mask on Adrian Neville. But then you kind of can't go with the whole Lucha Dragon thing and be like, yeah, and Mighty Mouse is part of that.
Lucha Mouse.
Lucha Mouse. Hey, they could do the copyright for it. But I don't know. I mean, I think that anybody that you give this gimmick to, it's going to be a hindrance on them. And Kalisto doesn't need to be repackaged at all. I mean, he doesn't even need any kind of repackaging, let alone something like this. And if you were really, really dead set on having a hairstylist character, give it to somebody that has no character whatsoever. Give it to, like, Ty Dillinger or something.
Can't you just tie it into fucking Tyler Breeze's character?
Yeah, do that. Give him a tag team partner that is like his hairstylist or something. Go with that, you know? That would be a lot better use of the character, I would think. But, I mean, it might not end up happening. I mean, at one point they were supposed to be having Daniel Bryan come out as apparently a homosexual or whatever. And let me say this, too. I'm not opposed to them having any homosexual characters. I'm not opposed to them having any homosexuals on the roster or whatever. That's perfectly fine. That's not the issue. It's Kalisto doesn't need to be repackaged.
Daniel Bryan for the neither, so that may...
No, Daniel Bryan doesn't need anything. I mean... Fuck, he goes out there and says yes, and everybody's like going crazy.
You know what he needs? A push.
He needs to lose to Bray Wyatt. That's what he needs.
Fucking apparently.
Yeah. Let's see here. The other hot tag to throw out there before we get into the interview talk. Mick Foley was a part of the 2015 Wing Bowl, and he got disqualified for hiding chicken wings.
It's funny. Yeah.
He said in this one thing, he was just like, it's Philadelphia, what? Like, you know. It's still cool. Wing Bowl's not, you know. It's the Wing Bowl. Who gives a shit?
I'd laugh if it's like a dedicated online community and they're all pissed off now.
Oh, they probably are. They're probably like, you shouldn't let celebrities do this because they taint it or whatever. I don't know. But I haven't checked out the Wing Bowl in a couple of years. I think the last one that I saw, Kobayashi was in it. I don't even know if he's still doing this anymore.
No, he's not the champ anymore, apparently.
Oh, that Joey something or whatever beat him, right?
Yeah.
Joey Chestnut, I think his name was?
Yeah, Chestnut.
Yeah. I think he's like from my area. He's like
Cherry Hill. Hey, Joey!
Hey, you're Joey Chestnut, yeah. We call him the chicken wing eater.
No, we call him the nut. Chestnut.
We call him the nut. Yo, he's Joey Chestnut. Call him the chest, because that's where he puts them all.
Okay.
Yeah, so funny thing for Mick Foley to do that. Anybody have anything to say about this before we move on? There you go.
Nope.
So, big talk here. Stone Cold Steve Austin has Triple H after Monday Night Raw on his podcast. It's very, very similar to the Vince McMahon interview, but I gotta say I didn't like it as much. And... you know, I was a little bit disappointed after watching it. We obviously didn't check it out when it was happening because we were doing the Monday Night Raw post show, but I watched it as soon as I could afterward, and I was hoping for like a couple of big revelations, but the big things that he said were still just meh to me. Like, I think the biggest thing that I took away from this whole thing is that he wants Raw to be 2 hours again. What do you guys think?
So.
Like, was that something that surprised you, or... you know,
I wasn't surprised that he wants it. Surprised that he said that in a public forum, though.
Mm-hmm.
I very much I'm pretty confident that everyone would love it to go back to go to an hour and a half, because that's the ideal time for any pro wrestling show. Ask any guy that's ever booked one. Honestly, the interview for it being first saying it's big talk, there wasn't that much said in it. It was China's a porno star, so she can't be in the Hall of Fame, like Benoit, and that was about it.
Well, he did have a couple of times where he sort of passed the buck to Vince McMahon and said, like, well, that's Vince's call, and that's why it sucks, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, he did make some references where it's like, well, NXT's good because it's what I like.
Yeah. Well, you see, the best thing about NXT is I can do whatever I want and Vince doesn't fuck it up. It's essentially what he said. And then it was like, well, what do you think about pushing these guys? Yeah, I'd push them too, but Vince doesn't. He's being a dick. Like, there was a lot of, like, navigating very careful waters to say that it's Vince McMahon's fault. But I credit Triple H for going out and actually saying that too, because Vince McMahon's still his boss. And it's his fucking father-in-law. Like,
we've always imagined that that's the scenario, and it turns out it's true.
Right.
And for everyone, you know what's funny? You know how everyone was freaking out that Triple H would take over because he buries everybody? Mm-hmm. Everything that he's done has been perfect.
Yeah, he has really taken a total, 180 as far as I'm concerned. Like, when he was still wrestling, he was clearly putting himself over. I mean, okay, it's obvious.
All I'm going to say to that, for everyone that gets pissed off about it, would you not?
See, I would to an extent. I think he overdid it in a lot of other ways. Like,
I don't think he did. If you can put yourself in a position where you're going to provide for your family that much more, why wouldn't you do it?
nah, see, I
These are
think
facts.
it's not a matter of providing, it's a matter of ego, the way that he lost some of the times. I mean, we could do a whole discussion about this, but a couple years ago, especially with the Jeff Hardy situation, there were situations where he was looking like a complete dick, and I was worried that when he took over that he would end up doing that. And I haven't had like anything negative to say about Triple H for years now, which is, a good indicator that I'm not going to in the future. So I have a lot more faith in him, even now after this podcast, which it didn't have a whole lot of big revelations, but just seeing how he handled himself and how he did take responsibility for some certain things, and then he had the balls to say that Vince was fucking up in some of those things. He could have just, beat around the bush a little bit and not answered it, but I gotta say, the way that things have been going the past 2 years especially, I would rather see Triple H take over more than keep Vince McMahon in charge.
What he's doing with NXT and the new, we've got the best wrestling we've had on television, period, right now.
Right, NXT is so much easier to digest than Raw.
Yeah, except at the same time, he mentions it on the podcast that the difference between Raw and NXT is that the NXT demographic is a lot different than the Raw's demographic is. So it makes sense that the NXT is a lot better to us because it's wrestling and that's what it is. Whereas, Raw, for example, it's appealing to multiple people, so not everyone's going to like it.
But that
So
also
I
is
think-
smart on his behalf to mention that.
Yeah. I think it was smart that he said that, so people complain that the product is that Raw is a lot worse than NXT. That argument is invalid now because he admitted that the demographics are completely different. So anyone who says NXT is better, why isn't that the main show? They need to shut up now.
I don't believe in the demographic scenario so much in pro wrestling. Everybody gets the basics of pro wrestling, and that's why everybody's there. If you put the NXT product, the product that they cater towards our demographic, on the main show, I guarantee it would do better ratings than what's currently on television. The reality of it is, better TV is better TV.
I don't know if it would do better ratings, but I think it would have a better review aspect to it.
Again,
I don't think it'll jump up from I don't know what the hell they get with the ratings. Let's just say they get a 3.0 on average. I don't know what the fuck they do. But if they got normally a 3.0, I don't think that NXT's product would make them, a 4.0.
No, I'm not saying put NXT away Raw. I'm saying if they booked Raw the same way they book NXT, that type of product would get a lot more ratings.
I think that Triple H has a mentality that a lot of us agree with, and maybe some of us don't. I don't know, but that simpler can be a lot better.
Less is more.
Yeah. So
I don't need to know the backstory of every small minor fucking detail that amounts to nothing. I just need to know, why does A hate B, and C, when are they going to fight?
Yeah, and you don't need to have 4 backstage segments to set up the main event for that night.
You don't need a 30-minute fucking promo at the beginning of the show. And by the way, hats off to him making a really funny joke that when Austin was like, yeah, I watched your DVD. Yeah, that was just one long promo.
Yeah.
I think even he knows he fucking goes long.
But hats off to Austin for calling him out on that too, where he said, one of the things I like about this is I didn't have to sit through half an hour to set up the show I do with Monday Night Raw.
Response was perfect though. And he went, yeah, but the show's only an hour.
Yeah, that was great. A lot of people are talking about the China situation. Is there really any argument? Triple H spelled it out exactly how other people have been saying it for all this time too. I mean, we're still arguing about this?
Okay, just one question I do have from that is, do you guys think she should go in the Hall of Fame? I never did.
Yeah.
China? She probably should, but
definitely she should. Look, if people are talking about very, very lesser important divas going into the Hall of Fame, people are like, when's Jazz going to go in and stuff? It's like, well...
I've never heard anyone utter the phrase, when is Jazz going in?
I'm sure there's somebody out there that thinks so.
I'd laugh if someone types at the guy, I think Jazz should go in.
We get flooded with comments now. Hey, what the fuck are you saying about Jazz? China, she won the Intercontinental Championship. She has
There
won
is
the
that
Divas.
much. You know what? She's the only woman to hold that belt.
First woman in the Royal Rumble, the only woman to hold the Intercontinental title, multiple time Divas champion. She was huge when it came to DX.
I always felt they put the IC title on China as a fuck you to Jericho.
Hold on, Tony. Hold on. She was a Divas champion. She's a women's
champion. That's true.
Come on, don't be spouting out false information here for some of our younger audience.
But yeah, I mean, China definitely should be, but I can totally see why they would wait to do it because, hell, Triple H is right, and that's the whole reason why Chris Benoit is never going to go into the Hall of Fame because there's a different thing.
Why Jimmy Snuka should be taken out. He's a murderer.
Well, not when it comes to the China thing, because you can't really just you Google Jimmy Snuka and find pictures of him murdering people. It's not like, but I know what you're saying. But,
I don't know. I don't know if you look up Chris Benoit, you see memes of Chris Benoit killing people.
Do you know who shouldn't go into the Hall of Fame? Lanny fucking Poffo.
For all the people that he murdered and all the porn in that he did.
Yep.
But you know what? They will end up having to eat their words if they put in somebody like a Mickie James. Because if you Google Mickie James, you can find porn of her. If you Google,
you can.
A lot of these divas.
Candice Michelle is one of them.
Yeah, Candice Michelle. Maurice, even.
She did porn?
Yeah, she's post-nude. I mean,
except so did Tori Wilson. She's probably going in the Hall of Fame.
Ugh.
Well, they didn't do Mickie James because they're fine with her photo being passed around. Apparently, Batista used to tape it to doors.
God.
I love that. He's like, you know what'd be funny? If I posted this bitch's nudes on the fucking locker room doors.
People don't hate me enough as it is. We do this, and then she can hate me too. By the way, John, tell Melina that I'll see her later. Batista's a dick. What are some other things that went down in this Austin podcast? They mentioned the whole thing with the curtain call, which a lot of that was, if you know some of the backstage stuff, you already knew this, but I did like Triple H mentioning how he wouldn't have been ready at that time. A little bit of
1996 for the that was a pretty cool nod, but he said he wouldn't have known at the time that he wasn't ready.
Right, but that's true. He probably would have wanted to happen back in 1996, but now he's a little bit more humble about it, and he can admit that he probably would have stunk up the joint compared to Austin.
You know what I like at the end of the podcast? Hey, Kevin Dunn! Fuck you.
They both were basically just like, hey, fuck Kevin Dunn. Austin's like,
Is it Vince? Nah. Oh, okay, fuck Kevin Dunn.
And then Triple H just said later, I'm going to get yelled at after this.
Fucking, you know what, the other thing that I like? He said about, we're training all the fucking new staff down there. Look at all of these guys, they ain't going to last long.
Yeah. I can just imagine the cameraman being like, the hell? I don't look that old, do I? Oh, I got to start working out again.
He probably went home and soaked to his wife for a little bit, and his wife's like, yeah, you are getting a little fat, honey.
So, who would you guys like to see in the next interview if they do another one? I think Stephanie's the next.
Yeah, that was who I was going to say. It looks like they're going for the main top roles in WWE. I think Stephanie would be a good one. If they were ever able to get the Undertaker to do one, I would definitely listen to an Undertaker.
Okay, once he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, he needs to be on Austin's podcast. Once he's done with his career, just imagine the amount of knowledge and information that guy has.
What would you guys rather see? John Cena doing the Austin podcast or Kevin Dunn?
I'd go with Cena.
Kevin Dunn.
I think the Kevin Dunn would be funny because Stone Cold could just piss him off.
I already heard John Cena on Austin's podcast. It was okay.
Oh, he did it? I didn't know he did it.
Yeah, he already did it. Not televised one, one of the normal ones. So I haven't got much to... All he pretty much said, okay, this is John Cena's backstory. Also, Cena, your STF sucks. He told him to tighten up on it. I was like, damn, you got schooled. So yeah, Kevin Dunn, just because I get to hear about, just because I'd ask Austin to ask him, hey, remember when fucking Jim Cornette said you got buck teeth?
Oh, Jim Cornette would be a great one to have on Austin's podcast.
It's already been on twice, and
really?
It was hilarious. It's the funniest podcast I've ever seen.
I gotta listen to these.
Yeah, he fucking talks about the time where the Midnight Express were faking a blowjob to make Tojo fucking nervous and stuff. It's a whole bunch of crazy shit. And then the one member shoved his cock in the other guy's mouth and ran off.
Sounds like something Batista would do.
So, yeah, you'd listen to that. He also goes over the Dairy Queen incident, I think.
Nice. So, any other last thoughts about this Austin interview before we wrap this up and start getting into the rest old?
You should get Jim Cornette for this show.
Yeah, I should get Dairy Queen, too. I haven't had Dairy Queen in a while.
Oh, man. What about if we can get him on to, patch things up?
With Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
We got a special guest here. We're joined by Dairy Queen. Drew, any thoughts on this interview with Triple H?
And Dairy Queen?
Yeah, and Dairy Queen. What's your favorite meal from Dairy Queen?
Ooh, I like, my favorite Blizzard is the M&M Blizzard, except I get chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla. That is my favorite. It's pretty good. Very chocolatey, very not good for you at the same time. But the podcast, I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I don't know if it was very, informational if you wanted to learn about wrestling. But, the whole idea that Triple H wanted to learn, all the technical stuff that goes on as well. I thought that was interesting. And him talking about what would his life be like, or if he had an exit plan if he were to never marry Stephanie or any of that stuff. I thought that was interesting. They brought up some interesting points, and that's what I liked about it. I preferred this one over Vince McMahon, to be honest. So
I agree with that statement, just because the Vince McMahon was like, all right, here's some easy question. Hey, fuck Cesaro, right? And, oh yeah, let's talk about CM Punk.
Yeah. So, also, the thing is, I think Triple H mentioned it, and I think he mentioned it about, the way they push people and whatnot, or what people, need to work on, is, they need to have, 3 things as well, which was wrestling, a personality, and mic work. And I believe you couldn't just have 2 out of 3, you need all 3 of them, apparently. So, I guess that's what they look for, because he essentially backed up what Vince said. So, I thought that was worth noting. But, yeah, it was good. And I'm looking forward to the next Austin one. So once a month, it seems like is what they're doing, correct?
Nah.
The McMahon one was what,
in December? What?
Did you guys feel that this one had more natural chemistry than him and Vince?
Yeah.
I felt like Triple H and Austin are genuine friends behind the scenes.
Well, we know that Austin and McMahon are.
Still feels like there's kind of an odd relationship because of their, I don't know,
because of their status.
Yeah.
I would really like to see, and they wouldn't do this, but I'd like to see Austin on the WWE Network talking to Jim Ross.
Ooh.
To see the camaraderie between that.
I've heard they've done podcasts together too. It sucks.
Really?
Austin and JR. Some people loved their shows together. I don't like it.
See, I would assume that they would be really buddy.
They're too chummy to the point where it just goes off into fucking football game that one time, huh?
Okay. So they're the all talk show.
Yeah. Except without the.
Except the all talk show is the greatest show on television and radio right now.
All right. Well, then here's what they got to do. Austin and JR got to call up prostitutes.
Okay, that I fucking watch the shit
talk about getting some crabs. Yeah,
I want to hear Austin be like, "Yo, I want to meet Paul Parham."
I want 1 blowjob, 2 blowjobs, 3 blowjobs, 4 blowjobs.
What? I want to see.
I know what I'm calling in next time with. I want 1 blowjob, 2 blowjobs, 69.
We could combine all the efforts, and they can call Kevin Dunn and talk about that. Alrighty, check out that podcast, everybody, if you haven't already, and stay tuned next week for whatever the hot tags are that happen in the next couple of days. We are going to end this off and take a little break with the rest hold. When we come back, we're going to answer your mailbag questions and go through both editions of the Superstar scores, and then we'll run down the Fantasy League and anything else that we need to do for this episode.